Have you ever wondered why some people, and maybe you've felt this way yourself at times, seem to hold on to their problems, almost as if it's more comfortable to stay stuck than to move forward?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a question that really sits at the very center of so many lives, even if it's mostly unspoken.
Right.
We see it in our friends, our family members, and, well, in those really quiet moments when we're completely honest with ourselves. We kind of cling to the things that hurt us.
We really do.
It's almost like treating our wounds like there's these old friends that we're terrified to leave behind.
Yeah. And I know this deep dive tonight might be a little uncomfortable for some of you listening.
It can be tough to hear.
It really holds up a mirror that can be hard to look into.
Right.
And I say this not from some place of, outside observation.
Right.
I'm saying this from a place of profound personal experience.
Yeah.
Because, well, for about 30 years of my life, I lived in this exact state.
Wow. 30 years is a really long time to carry that.
It was exhausting. I basically built an entire identity around the feeling of being perpetually wronged by the world. It totally dictated how I interacted with my family, how I viewed my career, and, how I spoke to myself in the quiet hours of the night.
Yeah, that internal voice.
Exactly. It felt like I was standing in the pouring rain, complaining loudly about being wet, while just stubbornly refusing to open the umbrella I was literally holding in my hand.
I love that image. And, we are going to really explore that rain tonight.
Yeah.
Not to judge the person standing in it, obviously, but to understand the incredible kind of hidden pull of that storm.
Right, because there's a reason we stay in it.
Exactly. We want to gently unpack this mindset of feeling chronically helpless. We're going to explore the hidden comforts of this state and, most importantly, talk about how to gently guide yourself or someone you love out of the shadows.
Getting back into the driver's seat.
Yes, back into the driver's seat of your own life.
And getting back into the driver's seat is like the perfect image for this. Because when you're trapped in this mindset, you're absolutely convinced that you are a passenger.
100%.
You truly believe you have no steering wheel. I remember waking up day after day, and the very first thought in my mind was always about someone else's actions.
It's a lame game.
Always. It was an endless shifting of responsibility. The reason I was unhappy was always located somewhere outside of my own body.
Right. It's never internal.
Never. It was my boss who didn't appreciate me. Or is the economy making everything too hard?
Or just bad luck.
Exactly. Just the bad hand I was dealt. And I mean, the sheer exhaustion of blaming the world is really hard to describe until you've lived it.
I can only imagine that constant shifting of responsibility is really the hallmark of this passenger experience.
Yeah.
It operates like this thick, heavy fog over a person's life. If we lean into that car analogy you brought up, it's the profound sensation of being strapped into the passenger seat while someone else is driving erratically.
And you're just bracing for impact.
Right. But the fascinating and really heartbreaking part is that in reality, you might actually be sitting in the driver's seat.
Oh, man.
Your hands might literally be resting on the steering wheel. Your foot might be hovering over the pedals, but your mind has completely dissociated from your own agency.
You convince yourself that the uneven road is dictating the journey.
Or the terrible weather, or the make of the car itself. Anything but you.
So you look down at the steering wheel, and your brain tells you it's entirely disconnected.
Yes.
And the tragedy of constantly placing the cause of your unhappiness outside of yourself is that you simultaneously place the cure outside of yourself.
Oh, that is so crucial.
Right, because if my partner is the sole reason I am miserable, then I cannot be happy until my partner magically changes into a different person.
Which you have zero control over.
Exactly. I have surrendered all my power to them. I've essentially handed them the keys to my own emotional well-being, and then I just resent them for how they drive.
And giving away those keys leaves you incredibly vulnerable.
Totally exposed.
Because when you believe you have no power to change your circumstances, the world transforms into a very terrifying place.
Yeah, everything feels like a threat.
You stop seeing opportunities or even just neutral events, and you begin seeing everything through this rigid template of impending disaster.
Well, the doomsday glasses.
Exactly. Every minor setback becomes proof that the universe is fundamentally against you. The internal monologue becomes absolute, it will never get better.
Everything is absolutely terrible.
I will never be able to handle this. Just constant, rigid templates of catastrophe.
Seeing the world through those dark lenses, those doomsday glasses, it really drains the color out of everything. But I do want to pause here for a second and hold space for a very important nuance.
Please do.
Because life can be unimaginably harsh.
It really can.
People lose their livelihoods. People lose people they love with their whole hearts. People face illnesses that alter the course of their lives forever. So how do we draw a distinct line between acknowledging real, shattering pain and viewing the world through this template of chronic helplessness? I mean, if someone is standing in the wreckage of a profound loss, we cannot simply tell them to just, take off their dark glasses.
No, absolutely not. We must always validate the reality of pain. Hardships are real.
Yeah.
Grief is a physical weight, and injustice happens every single day. If you are going through a storm, it is completely necessary to say, I am cold, I am wet, and this storm is awful.
You have to feel it.
Healing begins with acknowledging the reality of the wound. The critical shift into the passenger mindset, though, happens when a temporary, albeit devastating bad situation metabolizes into a permanent identity.
Oh, wow. It becomes who you are rather than what you are experiencing.
Exactly. It's the profound difference between saying, I am going through a terrible season right now and I am struggling to keep my head above water, versus saying, my entire life is a tragedy. I am fundamentally broken.
And the universe has conspired to keep me drowning forever.
Yes. The doomsday perspective takes a single, painful chapter of a book and decides that every single page until the end will contain the exact same sorrow.
It stretches a moment of suffering to cover the entire past and the entire future.
It does, and when you live in that permanent state of anticipated disaster, it becomes incredibly isolating.
So isolating. You feel so small and battered by life.
And when we feel battered, our natural, deeply human instinct is to look for comfort. Right?
Of course.
We look for someone to witness our pain. We want someone to look at us, soften their eyes, and say, oh, you poor thing, you have it so incredibly hard, it's not your fault.
Yeah, we actively wait for people to offer us sympathy. It's like we throw a party and pity is the absolute only guest we invite.
The pity party. And that thirst for pity makes complete sense when you feel powerless. Pity feels like a warm embrace in the moment.
It feels like love.
It does. But pity is a counterfeit comfort.
Oh, I like that. Counterfeit comfort.
It acts like emotional junk food. It tastes incredibly sweet the moment it touches your tongue, and it gives you a temporary spike of comfort.
But no real substance.
Zero nutritional value for your soul. In fact, it slowly starves you. Sympathy validates the helplessness. It looks at the person and says, you are right. This is too heavy for you. You cannot handle this.
Wow. Yeah. Whereas real nourishment comes from empathy and empowerment.
Exactly. Empathy sits down in the mud with you and says, this mud is awful and I am right here with you, and I know you have the strength to stand up when you are ready.
But the passenger mindset violently rejects that second part, don't they?
Oh, immediately.
Because the moment you introduce the idea of their own strength, they push you away. Utilizing strength requires effort. Pity just requires you to sit there and receive.
It demands nothing of you. And the moment someone tries to offer real nutritional empowerment, like an actual way out of the mud, you immediately hit a massive defensive wall.
The internal contradiction wall.
Yes. The person will say, yes, I hate being in this mud. Yes, I want to be clean. Yes, I see the shower right there, but tea.
Oh, the yes but trap. It is the absolute soundtrack of being stuck.
Yeah, it really is. I have seen this dynamic play out countless times in coaching practice.
Tell me about that.
Well, I'll be sitting across from someone holding a very quiet, supportive space for them as they describe a situation that's causing them immense pain.
Right.
We will slowly start to explore possibilities, and the moment that butt drops into the conversation, the entire atmosphere in the room shifts.
You can physically feel it.
You can. It is a clear, undeniable indicator that guiding this person toward their own agency is going to require immense patience.
Because they are actively guarding the door to their own cell.
Exactly.
I can picture that so clearly. Let's look at a common everyday scenario. Say someone is deeply unhappy in their living situation.
Okay, class.
The rent is too high, the neighborhood is noisy, they are stressed out every single day. So a friend sits down with them and gently says, hey, what if you looked for a roommate to ease the financial burden?
A very logical solution.
Right. And the immediate response is, yes, that's a good idea, but T, all the good roommates are already taken and I'd just end up with someone terrible.
Of course.
So the friend tries again. Okay, well, what if we spent this weekend looking at a slightly smaller place, a little further out of the city?
And the response?
Yes, I could do that.
Yeah.
But the commute would just exhaust me, and I wouldn't have time to sleep.
Right. Every single door that is gently nudged open is immediately slammed shut and bolted from the inside.
Every single one.
And the thing is, the yes represents their conscious, genuine desire to be happy and free from pain. They aren't lying when they say they want things to be better.
They really do want it.
But the but represents their unconscious, overwhelming terror of actually taking the wheel. Because if they say, yes, I will look for a smaller apartment, they suddenly have to take action.
They have to do something.
They have to face the fear of making a wrong choice. They have to exert effort. The but keeps them perfectly safe from the risk of trying and failing.
That makes so much sense. But if you continually reject every solution offered to you, eventually people are going to stop offering them.
They get tired.
Right.
Right.
And to justify rejecting all those life rafts, you have to convince yourself and everyone around you that your specific drowning is utterly unique.
Oh, yes. The Olympics of suffering.
You enter into this bizarre, lonely competition. You fiercely defend the idea that absolutely no one understands you.
No one has ever experienced this.
No one has ever experienced this specific type of heartbreak. No one has ever had a boss as uniquely malicious as mine.
No one has ever faced a financial situation as complex and hopeless as this.
Right. You build a podium, you climb to the very top, and you place a gold medal of misery around your own neck.
But the tragedy of that podium is that there is only room for one person on it.
It is the loneliest place on earth.
It really is. The Olympics of suffering is, at its core, a brilliant defense mechanism.
How so?
Well, if your pain is entirely unique, if your situation is incomparably difficult, then it is completely unreasonable for anyone to expect you to fix it.
Ooh. You become the exception to every rule of human resilience.
Exactly. You convince yourself that the life rafts other people are throwing to you are designed for regular oceans,
No.
and you are drowning in a specialized, acidic sea where normal life rafts simply dissolve.
Wow.
It allows you to push help away while simultaneously feeling entirely justified and deeply misunderstood. It protects the ego.
But it pushes love away too,
Absolutely.
which naturally leads into the ways this mindset begins to use other people. Because when you feel completely powerless over your own life, you inevitably try to exert power over the people around you to ensure your needs are met.
You have to find leverage somewhere.
Right. And you become a master of using guilt as emotional currency.
Oh, the guilt.
It's the heavy sigh from across the room. It's the subtle shift in tone.
The phrasing is always so specific, too.
It is. It's phrases like, well, I guess you don't care about what I'm going through at all.
Or, how can you go out and have fun when you know how much I'm suffering?
Or even just staring out the window and whispering, I guess it's just my fate to carry this burden alone.
It is a virtuosic, quiet manipulation. And, we use the word manipulation with profound gentleness here
Definitely.
because it is almost never malicious. It is born of desperation.
Yeah, they aren't evil masterminds.
Not at all. Guilt is the chosen tool of the powerless. If you believe you cannot control your own destiny or soothe your own emotional state, you attempt to control the behavior of your loved ones by making them feel fundamentally responsible for your happiness.
You tether them to you with an invisible rope of obligation.
Yes, but that tether is made of barbed wire. It keeps them close, but it slowly cuts into everyone involved.
It really does. And looking back at my own decades in that space, I have to admit something very difficult.
What's that?
Being the eternal victim is secretly incredibly convenient.
Oh, it's so comfortable.
It requires absolutely zero self-criticism. If nothing is my fault, I never have to look at my own flaws.
You never have to do the work.
Exactly. I never have to do the grueling, unglamorous work of personal growth. I get to peacefully nurse my weaknesses in a warm bath of self-righteousness while waiting for the world to deliver the apology I believe I am owed.
It is the ultimate comfort zone, constructed entirely out of sorrow.
Yeah.
And because it is so comfortable, the person living inside it allocates their energy in a very specific, highly skewed way.
The 90-10 energy split.
Yes, they spend 90% of their emotional, physical, and spiritual battery obsessing over the problem.
Just going over and over it.
Rehearsing the arguments in their head, analyzing the injury from every possible angle, spending hours talking about how incredibly unfair the situation is.
And then
They leave maybe 10% of that to actually glance in the direction of a solution.
it's wild. I always picture it like intentionally managing a smartphone battery.
Oh, I love this analogy.
Think about it. Imagine you have a day full of errands, obligations, and people who might need your help.
Okay.
Instead of charging your phone overnight, You intentionally keep it at 1%.
Wow. Okay.
You walk out into the world, and the moment someone asks you to look up directions or make a difficult phone call or help them with a problem, you just hold up the screen.
Sorry. Look, only 1%.
Exactly. I'd love to help, I'd love to navigate, but I simply don't have the power. It is an incredibly convenient shield against the demands of life.
That 1% battery completely protects you from expectations.
It really does.
Because if you charge that battery to 100%, you strip away your own excuse.
Suddenly you have to show up for your life.
You have to make the hard calls. You have to navigate the unfamiliar roads. You have to be an active participant in the messy, demanding world.
Which is terrifying.
So terrifying.
Well, we have just laid out a very intense map of behaviors.
We really have.
The shifting of blame, the dark glasses of permanent disaster, the craving for pity, the fortress of yes but, the lonely podium of suffering, the barbed wire of guilt, and the intentionally drained battery.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. If anyone listening to this is sitting in their car or lying in bed, feeling a tightness in their chest, feeling a little exposed or defensive right now, I want you to take a deep, slow breath.
We see you.
We see you. I've been you. We are not outlining these signs to condemn you or make you feel small.
Not at all.
We are outlining them because they are the breadcrumbs that lead us into the deep woods of our own psychology. They lead us to the most important question of all. Why?
Why do we do this?
Yeah.
Because people do not wake up in the morning with a conscious desire to be miserable. We are wired for joy and connection.
We really are.
So if we are engaging in patterns that cause us pain and alienate the people we love, we're doing it because deep down in the quietest parts of our subconscious, it serves us.
Which brings us to the profound concept of hidden comforts. The undeniable truth that our suffering, as sharp and exhausting as it is actually providing us with indirect benefits.
It is.
But I mean, the idea that pain can be a perk is so counterintuitive, it's hard to wrap your mind around at first.
It is hard. Think of it like a freezing, dark winter morning.
Ugh, the worst.
Right. Your alarm goes off at 6 in the morning. The room is icy, but you are wrapped in a heavy, thick, incredibly warm blanket.
So cozy.
You know perfectly well that you need to get up. You know that if you stay under that blanket, you will be late for work.
Your boss will be mad.
Your commute will be a rushed nightmare, and your entire day will be saturated with stress and genuine distress.
Yeah, it ruins the whole day.
But in that exact fragile moment of waking up, the immediate cozy warmth of the blanket simply feels too safe to surrender.
Oh, it's right there.
The cold air of the room represents responsibility, action, and stepping into the abrasive demands of the day. It is too intimidating.
So you choose the blanket.
You actively choose the blanket, knowing full well it will ruin your day because the immediate comfort outweighs the long-term cost.
The blanket of helplessness is suffocating, but it is undeniably warm.
It is.
And to really understand how we learn to crave this specific warmth, we have to look back at how our emotional blueprints are drawn.
The early years.
Right. Let's talk about a scenario that illuminates this beautifully, the story of the child's cough.
Oh, this is a dynamic we observe constantly in human development.
Walk us through it.
Imagine a young child growing up in a busy, perhaps slightly chaotic household. The parents are working hard, they are stressed, they are moving fast.
It's normal life.
It's normal life. When this child is healthy, running around playing, they are expected to manage themselves. They do their chores, they do their homework, and they blend into the background noise of family life.
Right.
They don't receive much focused, undivided emotional presence because everyone is simply trying to keep the ship afloat.
They kind of invisible in their wellness.
Exactly. Invisible in their wellness. But then it's winter, and the child comes down with a severe cough and a high fever.
Oh no.
Suddenly, the entire rhythm of the house stops.
Everything shifts.
The busy parents drop everything. They are sitting on the edge of the bed. They are bringing bowls of warm soup. They are placing cool, soothing hands on the child's forehead.
The chores are forgiven.
Entirely forgiven. The homework is forgotten. The expectations drop to absolute zero.
Cool.
For the first time in months, the child is the absolute center of the universe.
Wrapped in pure, undivided love and tender care.
Now, the child is not faking the fever. The illness is completely real.
The pain is real.
The physical discomfort is real. But beneath the surface, the child's rapidly developing brain is making a profound, life-altering connection.
Which is?
When I am strong and capable, I am left alone. When I am weak, broken, and helpless, I am intensely loved. Weakness equals safety.
Oh wow. That realization just breaks my heart. because we don't leave those childhood blueprints behind.
We don't.
That child grows up into an adult with a mortgage in relationships.
They grow into an adult carrying an unconscious map that says strength leads to abandonment.
So they stay sick.
They might unknowingly cling to emotional pain, to chaotic drama, to toxic relationships, or to chronic failure.
Yeah.
Because deep down, their inner child is terrified that if they stand up tall, handle their own life, and shine brightly, everyone will assume they don't need love anymore and walk away.
That is so deep. They remain emotionally sick because it is the absolute only vocabulary they have to ask the world to bring them warm soup.
It's the only way they know how to ask for care.
Looking at it through that lens changes everything, you know? It replaces judgment with immense compassion.
It really does.
When I see someone constantly complaining now or constantly trapped in drama, I don't just see someone being difficult anymore. I see someone desperately asking for soup in the only language they ever learned.
The hidden perk is the attention, the care, and the release from expectations.
Yes, the expectations. Let's look at another common life observation where this mindset thrives, the feeling of being completely, fundamentally overwhelmed by life.
Oh, the pressure of modern existence can be crushing.
It can. Imagine a person facing a highly demanding workplace or a complex, really demanding family dynamic.
Okay.
They look at the standards of success around them, and those standards feel impossibly, overwhelmingly high.
The bar is set so high they can't even see the top of it.
Yes, and they are terrified.
Right.
Because if they try their absolute best, if they give 100% of their energy to their career or their relationships, and they still fail,
It would be
it
devastating.
would be a crushing blow to their core self-esteem. It would prove to them that their absolute best is simply not good enough.
So the fear of failure becomes a wall they can't climb. What becomes the survival strategy then?
The survival strategy is adopting the identity of helplessness. I can't cope. My anxiety is too severe. I am just too fragile for this world. My luck is consistently terrible.
It operates as a brilliant bulletproof shield.
Exactly. Think of it like a foot race.
Okay.
If you show up to the starting line of a marathon in top physical condition, wearing running shoes, the crowd expects you to run fast.
Right.
If you run your hardest and come in last, you have to face your own physical limits. But if you show up to the starting line leaning heavily on crutches, sighing about how broken your legs are,
No one expects you to run.
no one expects you to win. You are completely safe from the judgment of the crowd. And more importantly, you are safe from judging yourself.
You avoid the terror of failing at your full potential by never tapping into it.
If you are already broken, the race is called off before the starting gun even fires. You don't have to sweat, you don't have to breathe hard.
But you also don't get to run.
Right. There is a staggering cost to this hidden comfort,
The cost is the highest price a human being can pay.
which is...
Your actual, vibrant, one wild and precious life.
Wow.
While these hidden perks, the warm blanket of victimhood, the crutches of helplessness, provide a temporary illusion of safety, they keep you entirely paralyzed.
Stuck at the starting line.
Yes, you absolutely avoid the harsh winds of judgment. You avoid the stinging sting of failure, but you also miss out on the sunshine of living fully.
You miss the whole race.
You miss out on the deep, abiding, quiet pride of doing something difficult and surviving it. You miss out on the thrill of the run. You manage to survive day by day, but you do not live.
You survive, but you do not live. You trade the breathtaking peaks and valleys of a real life for a flat, gray plateau of safety.
And the most tragic part is that the safety is an illusion.
Yeah, you aren't actually safe from the pain of the world. You are just experiencing a slow, dull ache instead of sharp, vibrant feelings.
Exactly.
But, this entire dynamic, this survival strategy, cannot happen in a vacuum. A person cannot be a permanent passenger if there is no one else in the car to drive.
Absolutely not. This mindset requires a highly specific ecosystem to survive. It requires a cast of characters willing to play along and validate the helplessness.
It takes a village to raise a victim.
It really does. Which brings us to a massive, incredibly draining part of this experience, the exhausting relationship dance.
The whirlpool.
Yes. When someone is living in this passenger mindset, they exert a gravitational pull. They invariably drag their spouses, their parents, their close friends, and even their children into an incredibly toxic, swirling cycle.
To understand how this whirlpool works, we have to look at the social dynamics that form around helplessness.
Okay, let's break it down.
In these relationships, people unconsciously adopt and switch between three distinct roles. We perform a dance, sometimes changing partners and roles, hour by hour.
Who are the characters?
The three characters are the helpless one, the fixer, and the harsh critic.
The helpless one is the center of gravity here, right?
Yes. The helpless one is the person currently embodying the passenger mindset. They feel entirely powerless over their circumstances.
Like life just happens to them.
Exactly. A series of unfortunate events over which they have no control. Their primary behavior is to broadcast distress.
Setting up flares.
Sending up flares, relying on others to manage their practical lives and soothe their turbulent emotions.
And the moment that distress flare goes up, it illuminates the second character, the fixer.
The fixer. The fixer is almost always a deeply loving, highly empathetic person, but they are a person carrying their own unexamined emotional baggage. When they see the flare, they rush in to save the day.
They swoop in.
They listen for hours to the complaints. They offer detailed solutions. They step in and pay the late bills. They make the difficult phone calls. They sacrifice their own time and energy.
It sounds so noble on the surface.
It does, but beneath the surface, the fixer has a secret. They often ignore their own needs and boundaries because they have a profound, desperate need to feel essential.
Yeah.
Their own sense of worthiness is entirely dependent on being the savior. If they are not needed, they fear they are not loved.
So we have a tragic symbiosis here.
Yes.
The helpless one needs to be rescued to feel loved and safe, and the fixer needs to rescue someone to feel worthy of existing. They fit together like two halves of a broken locket.
It feels like a perfect match at first, but it is a match made in exhaustion.
It's not sustainable.
Entirely unsustainable. The fixer is pouring water from their own cup into a bucket with a massive hole in the bottom.
Right.
Eventually, the fixer's cup runs completely dry. They become bone-tired, they feel unappreciated and drained, and that exhaustion transforms them into the third character.
The harsh critic.
The harsh critic.
This is where the warmth disappears and the anger enters the room, pointing fingers, blaming, and creating a new wave of distress.
The harsh critic is the voice of boiled over resentment. The fixer, now empty and angry, starts lashing out. They say, "You're doing this all wrong. You never listened to me. This is your own fault."
And what is incredibly fascinating is how these three roles constantly rotate on a never-ending merry-go-round.
Let's ground this in a real everyday scenario. Let's walk through a typical family evening so we can watch this merry-go-round spin in real time.
Because I guarantee almost everyone listening will recognize this rhythm.
Imagine a familiar kitchen table. It's 6 p.m. The helpless one walks through the door after work, drops their bag on the floor with a heavy, dramatic sigh, and slumps into a chair.
I can picture it.
"My boss is so unbelievably unfair," they say. "I have entirely too much work. No one else in the office is treated like this. I simply cannot do this anymore. I'm going to break." The distress flare is high in the sky.
And the fixer? Maybe their spouse who is cooking dinner drops the spoon and swoops in.
The fixer rushes over. "Oh, honey, that is terrible. I am so sorry. Listen, let's look at your schedule right now. Why don't you email your boss first thing tomorrow morning and firmly state that you need an extension on the project?"
Trying to solve it immediately.
Right, and they add, "In fact, you sit there and rest. I will draft the email for you on my phone right now."
The fixer's doing the work. But we know exactly what the helpless one is going to do with that email. The yes but trap is waiting.
Immediately, the helpless one shakes their head. "Yes, that makes sense for a normal office, but you just don't know my boss. If I send that, he will immediately assume I'm incompetent and he'll fire me. You just don't understand how uniquely toxic my specific department is."
The Olympics of suffering makes an appearance.
It always does. The helpless one has effectively swatted the life raft away. They remain in the water.
So what happens to the exhausted spouse?
The spouse, who has spent the last 20 minutes trying to ease the burden instead of relaxing after their own long day, hits a wall. Their empathy evaporates, replaced by sharp resentment.
The shift.
The fixer violently spins around and transforms into the harsh critic. They snap. "Well, if you're not going to actually do a single thing about it, then stop complaining to me every single night. You never listen to my advice. You just want to wallow in your own misery and drag me down with you."
Oh man, the rescuer has become the attacker. The entire energy of the room shifts from supportive to hostile.
And how does the helpless one react to this sudden hostility?
They retreat further into their identity.
Yes, they feel genuinely victimized all over again, this time by their own spouse. They look up with tears in their eyes and say, "See, this is exactly what I mean. Even you are yelling at me. My boss hates me, and my own spouse attacks me when I'm down. I have absolutely no one in my corner. I am completely alone in this world."
and the cycle locks into place.
Exactly.
The helpless one's renewed distress will eventually cause the spouse to feel immense guilt for yelling.
Yes.
The spouse will apologize, transition back into the fixer to make amends, and the merry-go-round starts spinning all over again.
It generates endless drama, endless tears, endless resentment, but it produces absolutely zero actual solutions.
It is a closed loop of suffering. It makes my chest physically tight just listening to that scenario, because honestly, I have played every single one of those characters at different stages of my life.
We all have.
I've been the one sighing at the table, and I've been the one screaming out of sheer frustration.
It's so human.
Let me ask a question on behalf of the fixer, though, because my heart really goes out to the people who are just trying to love someone who is hurting.
Right.
Isn't it a beautiful, natural, completely human instinct to want to ease the burden of someone you love when they are collapsing? How are we supposed to know when our love has crossed an invisible line and become a toxic fixing that actually prevents them from standing on their own 2 feet?
It's a great question.
Where's the boundary between genuine, loving support and destructive enabling?
It is one of the most painful and confusing boundaries to navigate in any human relationship. The distinction does not necessarily lie in the physical action you are taking. It lies entirely in the energy, the intent, and the underlying belief behind the action.
The underlying belief.
Yes. You have to ask yourself a very difficult question. Are you supporting this person while they do their own heavy lifting, or have you quietly taken their backpack and strapped it onto your own shoulders?
Carrying their backpack.
Exactly. True support, healthy love, walks beside the person. It believes deeply in the other person's inherent capacity to heal and handle their life.
Right.
Healthy love asks questions that empower. It says, I see clearly how much you are struggling right now. This is a heavy load. What do you think your very next step should be? How can I hold your hand while you handle this?
And what does fixing say?
Fixing steps in front of the person. Fixing acts as a shield. Fixing says, I love you, but I secretly agree with you that you are too weak and fragile to carry this backpack. Therefore, let me carry it so you don't have to suffer.
Oh, that is a subtle but earth-shattering difference. By fixing it for them, you are confirming their deepest fear, that they are incapable.
Exactly. True support holds a mirror up to their strength, even when they have temporarily forgotten it exists.
Wow.
Fixing holds up a mirror to their brokenness. When you constantly fix the problems of a helpless one, you are inadvertently reaching over, buckling their seatbelt in the passenger seat, and locking the door.
You're keeping them in the passenger seat.
You are.
If you truly love someone, you have to hand them back the steering wheel, even if their hands are shaking, even if they cry because the road is dark and it's hard to drive.
You must, because the absolute only way a human being will ever remember that they possess the skill to drive is by feeling the vibration of the road under the tires. They have to feel the agency in their own hands.
They really do. Well, we have spent a lot of time illuminating the dark corners of this house.
We have.
We have named the signs. We've uncovered the hidden unconscious comforts that keep us stuck. And we have mapped out the exhausting, toxic dance we pull our loved ones into. It is heavy.
Very heavy.
It can feel overwhelming to realize you are caught in this web.
Huh.
But we did not bring you here just to show you the shadows. We promised a guide back into the light.
We did.
We promised a way to gently, firmly take back the driver's seat. So let's talk about the way out. Let's talk about taking back the pen and writing a new chapter. How do we actually break free?
This is where the air in the room begins to clear, because breaking free is entirely possible.
Thank goodness.
It does not require you to be superhuman. It requires courage, yes, but the steps themselves are incredibly gentle. And the journey begins with one foundational move. We call it radical, gentle honesty.
Radical, gentle honesty. Those words almost feel like they belong to completely different worlds. Radical sounds sharp and sudden, while gentle is soft. How do they work together?
They balance each other perfectly. The honesty is radical because it cuts straight past all the excuses, all the blame, and all the elaborate stories we tell ourselves.
It cuts to the core.
It cuts to the absolute root of the issue. But it must be gentle, because if we apply this honesty with harshness, we simply create shame.
And shame is just another heavy blanket to hide under.
Exactly. The very first step of healing is simply looking in the mirror, making eye contact with yourself, and stating a neutral fact.
Which is?
Yes. Right now, in this phase of my life, I am choosing to be in this state.
Claiming the choice.
Yeah.
Recognizing that it is an active decision, not a passive curse.
Claiming the choice without judgment. It is not saying, I am a pathetic, bad person for hiding from life. It is simply stating, I acknowledge that the world has felt overwhelming, and I am currently choosing the comfort of this warm blanket over the cold, intimidating air of responsibility.
Just stating the fact.
And the profound magic of this moment, the alchemy of honesty, is that the exact second you realize you are choosing to hold the blanket, you instantly realize you possess the power to let it go.
If it is a choice I am making, it is not a life sentence handed down by a judge.
Oh.
If I'm the one putting the blanket over my head, I'm the one who can throw it off.
Precisely. In that one quiet moment of radical honesty, you reach out and take the pen back from the universe.
Yeah.
You return the authorship of your life to yourself.
That thought alone is so liberating.
It is.
Once you have anchored yourself in that honesty,
Yeah.
you have to start dealing with the mechanics of your mind, right? Which brings us to the next practical step, sorting the laundry of your thoughts.
Yes. When a person has lived in the passenger mindset for years or even decades, their internal world is deeply cluttered. The mind is a machine that constantly produces heavy, absolute thoughts.
Like what?
Thoughts like, nothing ever works out for me no matter what I do, or everyone is fundamentally selfish and out to get me, or I am just inherently unlucky.
Those are heavy.
So heavy. The second step of breaking free is learning to create a tiny microsecond of pause when one of these thoughts drops into your consciousness.
Just a pause.
You don't panic, you don't immediately believe it, you just pause, hold the thought up to the light, and ask one simple question. Is this thought a solid, undeniable fact, or is it just my old fear speaking?
Oh, I love that. It is exactly like finding a strange rusted key in the pocket of an old coat.
Oh, tell me about that.
You reach in, your fingers brush against metal, and you pull out a key you do not recognize. What do?
You look at it.
Exactly. You don't immediately run to your front door, violently shove the strange key into the lock, and try to force it to turn, getting angry when it jams the mechanism. You place the key in the palm of your hand, you examine the shape of it.
Right.
You ask, whose key is this? Where did it come from? Does it actually belong to me? Does it open a door that leads somewhere I want to go? Or is this just a piece of junk metal that I should throw in the trash?
That is a phenomenal way to visualize it.
It really helped me.
Because for 30 years, you were blindly accepting every single heavy thought as the absolute truth. You were taking every strange, rusted key of anxiety and fear, shoving it into the delicate door of your heart, and then wondering why your heart always hurt.
Exactly. Sorting the laundry means picking up the thought, the key, looking at it with objective curiosity and saying, oh, I recognize this.
This is just my old terror of failure acting up again.
Because I have a job interview tomorrow. I don't need to internalize this. I don't need to wear this heavy sweater today. I can put it in the wash.
It is the realization that you do not have to believe everything you think. The brain produces thoughts the way the lungs produce breath. It's just a function. You can observe the thought without becoming it.
You become the observer of your internal weather rather than a helpless victim standing in the rain.
Beautifully said.
And as we get better at observing our thoughts, we also have to get better at observing reality. Because the truth is, bad things do happen.
Oh, of course they do.
Conflicts occur. Projects fail. Relationships break. We can't just, positive think our way out of reality.
No, we can't.
This brings us to a highly practical grounding exercise for when reality hits hard.
The slices of the pie.
This is one of my favorites. When a crisis hits or a painful conflict erupts, the passenger mindset immediately wants to color the entire situation with one brush. This is 100% someone else's fault.
Right.
Alternatively, if the harsh inner critic takes over, they might swing entirely in the opposite direction and say, this is 100% my fault. I ruin everything I touch.
Also not helpful. Not at all. Because the reality of human existence is never a solid block of color. Reality is always a pie chart. So the next time something goes wrong, imagine sitting alone at a quiet cafe. You take a pen and you draw a large circle on a paper napkin.
I am visualizing the cafe right now. I have my coffee, I have the napkin, I draw the circle. Let's use a real example to anchor this.
Okay, let's hear one.
Let's say I was just passed over for a major promotion at work that I really, really wanted. I am hurt, I am angry, and I want to blame the entire company.
Okay, look at the circle on your napkin. That circle represents the total reality of why you didn't get the promotion. Now you start slicing the pie, honestly.
Slicing the pie.
Maybe there's a massive slice dedicated to company budget cuts that is entirely out of your control. Maybe there's a slice dedicated to the fact that the person who got the promotion is the boss's nephew.
Nepotism happens.
It happens and it is out of your control. Maybe there's a slice for the shifting economy. But you keep looking at that pie. You look closer. Somewhere in that circle, you must find your slice.
I have to find my slice.
Yes. You must look for your own contribution to the event.
Yeah.
Even if your slice is incredibly thin. Even if your slice represents only 5% of the total pie.
Even 5%?
Maybe your 5% is that you didn't communicate your recent successes clearly to upper management. Maybe your 5% is that you arrived late to meetings 3 times last month because you were disorganized.
Or maybe your 5% is simply the hostile, defensive attitude you adopted when you asked for the raise.
Exactly. You must locate your 5%, because even though it is small, that 5% is where your total absolute power lives.
That concept alone is completely paradigm shifting. That 5% is where my power lives.
Yes.
It takes the focus completely off of what the world did to me and laser focuses it on how I navigated the world.
Exactly. You stop asking, why did they do this to me? And you start asking, how did I react? What choices did I make in my sliver of the pie?
Because I can't control the nepotism.
You cannot control the nepotism. You cannot control the budget cuts. You cannot control the global economy. But if you take fierce, unapologetic ownership of your 5%, you can change it tomorrow.
I can learn to communicate better. I can set an earlier alarm.
Yes. By owning the small slice, you transition from a helpless victim of circumstance to an active driver of your own future.
You reclaim your agency in the exact places where it is actually useful.
Exactly.
Which leads beautifully into our final guidepost.
Yeah.
Because I think it is very common for someone to hear all of this, feel a huge surge of inspiration, and think, okay, tomorrow morning, I am going to wake up at 5 a.m., take ownership of everything, quit the job I hate, end my toxic relationships, run 10 miles, and conquer the entire world.
Oh, the motivation spike.
Right. And that massive expectation is just a recipe for overwhelming anxiety, which sends you running right back onto the warm blanket.
Absolutely. Motivation is a spike, but discipline and healing are a slow build. You do not remodel an entire house with one giant chaotic swing of a sledgehammer.
No, you don't.
You do not have to change your entire life overnight. In fact, if you try, you will likely fail. The final step is focusing entirely on small, confident steps.
Start small.
Start by taking 100% responsibility for the absolute smallest, most mundane details of your day.
Give us a picture of what those microscopic steps actually look like. Where do we begin?
You begin the moment your feet touch the floor in the morning.
Okay.
The way you make your bed. Do you throw the covers up carelessly? Or do you take 30 seconds to smooth the sheets, actively choosing to create a small patch of order in your physical space?
That is a choice.
It is. Look at the way you answer a single routine email. Do you fire off a defensive, rushed reply? Or do you take one breath and choose words that are clear, professional, and kind?
The small choices.
Look at the way you speak to yourself in the bathroom mirror while brushing your teeth. When the critical voice chimes in, can you deliberately choose to replace it with one single, neutral, or kind thought?
It is the practice of returning the authorship of your life to yourself, one tiny sentence at a time.
One sentence at a time. When you realize that you have the absolute power to choose your emotional reaction to a red light in traffic, you begin to build the muscle memory of agency.
It is like going to the gym for your soul.
Yes. You start with the 1-pound weights, making the bed, smiling at the barista, and eventually, through daily repetition, that muscle of agency gets incredibly strong.
And get strong enough to handle the heavy lifting later.
It gets strong enough to navigate the career changes, the setting of deep relationship boundaries, the profound internal healing. But it all starts with making the bed.
It is like planting a tiny, almost invisible seed of ownership in the soil of your day and watering it with small choices.
Exactly.
And over years, it grows into a tree with roots deep enough to withstand the storms and branches strong enough to sit under.
It really does. And as we sit around this virtual kitchen table tonight, the tea getting cold, the night quiet around us, I want to gently remind everyone listening to this. We all fall into the passenger seat sometime.
Every single one of us.
Every single one of us. It is not a flaw. It is a profoundly human reaction to a world that can be overwhelming, chaotic, and exhausting.
We all get incredibly tired. We all want the warm soup.
You
But
did?
we all have moments where we just want someone else to take the wheel and drive us safely home in the dark.
We really do. And there is absolutely no shame in that fatigue. Rest is necessary.
Yeah.
But true comfort, the kind of deep, resonant comfort that sustains a beautiful, resilient life, is not found in permanently hiding from the world under a heavy blanket of helplessness.
Where is it found?
True comfort is found in the quiet, steady, unshakable, knowing that you are strong enough to navigate whatever road rises up to meet you. You possess the compass. Your hands belong on the steering wheel.
They really do. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over as you drift off to sleep tonight.
I love this part.
Think about the immense, staggering amount of energy you spend defending your wounds.
So much energy.
Think about the heavy stones of resentment you carry every single day to build massive walls, just to prove to the outside world how unfair things are and how much you hurt. Just imagine the sheer volume of life force that requires.
Exhausting.
Now, what if that exact same energy is the only thing you need to heal?
Wow.
What if the intense energy currently being used to build a wall of protection is the exact amount of energy required to build a door instead?
A door instead of a wall. That is a beautiful, powerful image to hold on to.
A door that leads out into your own life? If this conversation resonated with you tonight, if it brought up a feeling in your chest, a memory, or even a little bit of uncomfortable resistance, that is completely okay.
Totally normal.
We would love for you to share a comment or a thought with us. Reach out and let us know what piece of the pie you are claiming today. And please hit subscribe so we can sit around this kitchen table together again soon, sharing stories and finding our way forward. Take beautiful care of yourselves out there. Good night.